A man in Salt Lake City tried to stake his lunch buddy through the heart because he thought the guy was a goddamn werewolf, and honestly, that's not even the weirdest part of this story. So we're at some restaurant in June, middle of the day, sun's out, people are ordering salads and pretending kale tastes like food. And Jose Manuel Perez is sitting across from his companion having what I can only assume was a perfectly normal conversation about the weather or gas prices or literally anything that doesn't involve the supernatural. And then, without warning, without a full moon in sight, without so much as a growl or a suspicious amount of body hair, this man decides his lunch date is a lycanthrope and needs to die immediately. Just snaps. Reaches across the table and puts the poor bastard in a chokehold like they're in the finale of some low-budget horror movie nobody asked for. Now, you'd think that's where this ends. Crazy guy loses it, gets pulled off, maybe tased, spends the night in county lockup explaining to a very tired psychiatrist why he attacked someone over a Cobb salad. But no, because Perez came prepared. This man brought props. He pulls out a wooden stake, an actual wooden stake with a nail hammered through it, because apparently he's been planning this Van Helsing moment for a while, and announces out loud to everyone in the restaurant that he's about to pierce this guy's heart. The victim, who by all accounts is just a regular human being trying to survive lunch in Utah, somehow breaks free and hauls ass out of there, which is the only sane decision anyone makes in this entire story. So Perez, now standing there with his murder stick and 0 werewolves to show for it, does what any rational person would do, grabs the victim's backpack and runs. Because sure, you failed at supernatural pest control, but at least you can steal the guy's belongings. Maybe there's a protein bar in there. Maybe there's evidence of werewolf activity. Maybe you're just an asshole. Police show up, they track him down, and here's where it gets truly beautiful. When they search him, Perez's pockets are absolutely stuffed with rocks. Not one rock. Not a couple pebbles for good luck. We're talking pockets full of stones like he's preparing for a geological exam or building a tiny dam in his pants. When asked why, he tells officers, and I cannot stress enough that this is a real human being with thoughts and access to oxygen, that he needed the rocks to protect himself from the werewolf that wanted to kill him. Let me walk you through this man's logic, because it's important we all suffer together. He's having lunch. Guy across from him suddenly registers as a werewolf in his brain. No evidence, no transformation, just vibes. So he chokes him, threatens to stake him, and when that doesn't work, steals his backpack and fills his cargo shorts with sedimentary self-defense. Because apparently, in Perez's mind, werewolves, creatures of myth known for ripping people apart with their bare claws and supernatural strength, can be thwarted by some limestone from the parking lot. Not silver bullets, not holy water, rocks, the same shit you'd skip across a pond if you were bored. That's his plan. Meanwhile, the actual victim is somewhere filing a police report and probably Googling, "Am I a werewolf?" just to make absolutely sure. Perez got booked on aggravated robbery, which is a first-degree felony, and I'm guessing his court-appointed attorney is currently updating their LinkedIn and considering a career change. The victim's fine, physically anyway, though I imagine therapy bills are going to be steep when you have to explain that someone tried to buffet you during the lunch rush because your energy was off. Anyway, that's Salt Lake City for you. Up next, we've got another story that'll make you question whether humans deserve opposable thumbs. And speaking of people who should have stayed the hell away from other people's houses, we've got one more for you before we shut this nightmare down for the night. So there's a babysitter in Great Bend, Kansas, putting kids to bed on a Monday evening, doing the usual routine teeth brush, pajamas on, stuffed animals arranged in that weirdly specific order that only toddlers understand. One kid starts whining that there's a monster under the bed. Classic. Tale as old as time. The babysitter, being a responsible adult, gets down on her hands and knees to prove there's nothing lurking in the shadows except maybe a lost sock and some dust bunnies that have achieved sentience. She shines her phone light under the bed frame, expecting to calm a scared kid and get on with her night. Instead, she comes face to face with Martin Villalobos Jr., a 27-year-old man who has been lying there in the dark, completely still, waiting for what exactly? Great question. The police are wondering the same goddamn thing. Now, Martin used to live at this house, which sounds like it might explain things until you realize he had a protection from abuse order, specifically telling him to stay the fuck away from this property. Not maybe drop by if you're in the neighborhood, not let yourself in through the window for old time's sake, hard no, court-ordered, legally binding, do not pass, go, stay away. But Martin decided that order was more of a suggestion, climbed into the house and tucked himself under a toddler's bed like some kind of discount sleep paralysis demon. The kid was right all along. There was a monster. It just happened to have a criminal record and a restraining order. So the babysitter sees him, her brain short circuits for a solid 3 seconds trying to process what her eyes are telling her, and then survival mode kicks in. She tries to drag this grown-ass man out from under the bed, which is when Martin apparently decides he's done playing dead and a full-blown fight breaks out in his kid's bedroom. Furniture's getting knocked around, the babysitter's screaming, and in the chaos, one of the children gets knocked over, a child. Martin's exit strategy involved bowling over a toddler. He then bolts out of the house and disappears into the night like some kind of bargain bin horror villain who forgot his mask. Deputies show up, take the report, and start searching the area. No sign of Martin. He's gone, vanished. Probably congratulating himself on a clean getaway while crouched behind a dumpster somewhere smelling like carpet dust and bad decisions. The babysitter gives them his name, explains he used to live there, and the cops realize this isn't just some random creep. This is a guy who knows the house, knows the layout, knows exactly which bed to hide under for maximum psychological damage. They keep looking through the night. Martin has successfully evaded capture and is presumably sleeping somewhere that isn't under a child's bed, which feels like progress. But here's where Martin's criminal mastermind routine falls apart. The very next morning, deputies are still in the area doing follow-up, and guess who they spot? That's right. Martin Villalobos Jr., lurking near the same house. The house he was explicitly told to avoid. The house where he was just discovered hiding under furniture less than 12 hours earlier. The house that is now absolutely crawling with law enforcement looking specifically for him. Martin sees the cops, tries to run, and gets about 30 feet before deputies tackle him in what I can only assume was the least suspenseful foot chase in Kansas history. He's arrested, booked into Barton County Jail on a laundry list of charges including aggravated kidnapping, aggravated burglary, aggravated battery, child endangerment, and violating that protection order he clearly thought was written in disappearing ink. Bond set at $500,000. The kid's probably going to need therapy. The babysitter's definitely updating her rates. And Martin? Martin proved that sometimes the real monster under the bed is just a dude with spectacularly poor judgment and even worse timing. So if you've ever hidden under someone's bed uninvited, what's your damage? Leave it in the comments. Hit subscribe because somewhere right now someone's topping this.